So, good afternoon, everybody. Have you still got some capacity left for new stimulation? Yeah? And have you got a long to-do list already of things that, I must remember to take that back? Is it, yeah? It's all getting a bit exhausting, isn't it? But soon be drinks time. So, my job is to take you through to drinks time. And we'll try and achieve that. Okay, so if you are a tweeter, and that's what you're going to be doing this afternoon, then there's a room hashtag you need to use, which helps to differentiate this session, which is hash T2S3. T2S3. It's very memorable, yeah? Are there any people tweeting here, by the way? Yeah, good. Well, tweet away, because I expect you're going to find this afternoon lots and lots of practical tips. That's really what this afternoon's session is all about. First of all, the subject is blended learning, which for me is the most exciting subject I could possibly imagine talking about. You're obviously excited too, otherwise you wouldn't be here, am I right? So who here is excited about blended learning? Yeah, absolutely. It's not a very exciting phrase, but the reality of it is very exciting. As I'm sure you'll hear when you hear the examples from our two speakers today. But I get very excited about it because blended learning, not only does it work in the sense that it's been proven to work and actually means that we can bring in all the efficiencies that technology provides, but also actually extend and embed the program that we're producing into the workflow so that we end up with a more effective result. So we've got a combination of the two. But it also gives us wonderful opportunities to be creative and to put together recipes, if you like, which are completely original and ours for our audiences and our organizations. And that's why I think this sort of session today is going to be particularly valuable, very practical, because you're going to hear quite a few recipes which have been tested out and have worked in practice. So I think that's going to be really useful. Now, both of the speakers are from professional services firms, Linklaters and PwC. Is there anybody here, apart from people who are friends of the speakers, if you like, is there anybody else here who's from a professional services firm? I just want to see whether that's an interest. It was just one person at the back. So primarily the interest is in the blend. But I think that professional services firms are quite challenging environments sometimes in which to work, because there are such the audiences that you're trying to reach are people who are senior professionals in their own right. They've got very limited time. And very demanding, I think, in many cases. On the other hand, they need, to be absolutely on top of their particular professions, and that's why the learning function is so important in these organisations. So I hope you're going to be able to draw some generalisations from what you hear, which will work for your particular organisations too. Now, the format is that we're going to do two relatively short presentations of 15 minutes each. And that will allow us a good half an hour for questions, because I know what it's like. When I'm listening to case studies, I have questions, because you want to know, why did they do that? Why did they not do that? What were the challenges they faced? What were the problems, and so on? And those are questions which I want to make sure you've got plenty of time to ask those questions. So don't hesitate to make a note of those questions, and we'll handle them in a panel after we've heard from the two speakers. So we're going to start with Sue Hawke. Sue Hawke is from Linklaters, which is one of our major city law firms here in the UK. And Sue's going to talk about her blended solution that she's been working on.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I am delighted to be here. For the last few years, I have sat in the audience, so I'm really excited about standing up and talking to you today. I've put one of my favourite quotes up on the screen, because it really goes to the heart of what I'd like to talk to you about this afternoon, and that's about a story of change that we made within Linklaters. And I'd like to challenge you to make a change in your organisation as well. One of the first things I'd like to do is play a very short video that helped explain to the firm the change we were going to make and how they would experience that.
We want to help you maximise your potential through learning. It's part of our deal. Our clients expect to be able to access our firm's collective global knowledge, so we need to deliver learning to you at your point of need, on the job. Technology can help deliver this by providing you with access to learning when and where you need it, giving you new knowledge to digest beforehand so you are better prepared for the classroom, and connecting you with others through online networks. Our new approach to learning is called blended learning. Here's Scott to explain. Scott has got some training coming up. The session is in a few weeks' time, but his learner journey begins now, online. Scott accesses the course, which begins with an introductory video from a partner. He's quick to realise why this course is important. Over the next few weeks, Scott completes the online modules at his own pace, accessing them whenever his busy schedule allows. The online modules contain all the knowledge he needs, split into manageable, engaging topics. He's excited about the classroom training coming up. He feels prepared. This classroom training is different to the ones he's been to before. There are no lectures, no endless presentations. Instead, the session is about bringing to life what the group have already learned online, doing hands-on exercises and discussing ideas. Even after the classroom session, Scott's learning hasn't finished. He uses online networks to continue his learning and get support from his colleagues. He also uses the online resources to recap and refresh. It's all part of the blend. Looking back, Scott is a big fan of this new blended way of learning. For him, it was more engaging and a more effective use of his time. This new blended approach to learning is happening. We're piloting a selection of our global courses. You'll experience it gradually as development takes place. Our journey will continue. In the future, you'll also be able to access your online modules remotely, on different devices to support your personal preferences. So watch out for the communications on our new blended pilot programs. And keep an eye out for new online courses that are being developed. To find out more or get advice on developing online courses, talk to us, the new Global Learning Technologies team, or visit our GLTT wiki page. And finally, when you take a blended learning course, make sure you get the most out of it. Give both the online and classroom elements your full attention. They are both part of the core course, and there will be an expectation in the classroom that you've completed the online modules. Prepare well, build your knowledge, connect with others. Maximise your potential.
Great. So we actually chose the whiteboard video because it wasn't anything the firm had seen before, so we wanted to use something kind of quite different to get our message across. But I'll come back to the video a little bit later. So perhaps if I give you just first a bit of context about the firm. So I joined in 2010, and at that time we were delivering the majority of our training through presentation-led classroom delivery. Many of us will know that as kind of chalk and talk, and our use of technology in learning was very limited. So my vision was to implement a blended learning strategy across the firm globally. This was the first law firm that I'd ever worked for, and what I came to understand pretty quickly is that lawyers are a challenging bunch, and if you want to make any kind of change, then you have to deliver to them very well thought out, kind of compelling evidence. And so I very quickly had to become quite an expert debater on the subject. Anyway, there are two key elements really that were part of our success in introducing a blended learning culture. And I'd just like to focus on two of those today because I know we're a little bit short on time. One is going to be how you put together a great business case to support your vision. And the second one is the change and comms plan that we put alongside that business case. So in terms of the business case, and it sounds very simple, but actually this took us quite a long time to pull together before we were taking it through to our strategic project board. So I'm just going to cover 9 points quickly that we have here. In terms of our case for change, We felt that we were increasingly falling behind, in particular our clients who were using technology for learning. We knew that our L&D skills were lacking, and also we conducted a global survey across the firm of all of our staff at all levels, and they told us that they wanted access to more online learning. So those were the key parts of our case for change. In terms of the benefits to the business, so we particularly saw those at increasing our lawyers' speed to experience, at making learning available to them just in time, and then also we modelled some cost savings for the business as well, and I'll come on and mention those a little bit later. The objectives that we wanted to achieve, this was about implementing a learning infrastructure to support blended learning. So that meant that we wanted to bring expert skills into our learning team so that we could build online learning in-house rather than outsourcing it. We knew that we needed to bring new tools in, so there was software that we included within that business case, both for our subject matter experts in the business who were developing content, but also for our team of experts, our global learning technologies team that we wanted to set up. And then also processes, I think, were very important here. We designed both global processes for our more sophisticated blends, but we also designed local processes to support those subject matter experts in the business that were also developing learning content, and more importantly, were eagerly wanted to develop that online content. Pilot courses. So we knew the board would want us to demonstrate return on investment. So we identified 5 global courses that we were going to blend, with the aim of going back to the board and talking about the feedback from the learners and the success of those blends. A timeline that may be fairly obvious, but for us, we were bringing new software into the firm, so it was really important that we collaborated with our IT function. I don't know what your relationship is like with your IT function. I don't know if you know it well. I don't know if you understand what your existing IT infrastructure will deliver and support in terms of learning technologies. But if you don't, I recommend that you find out and you understand that before you embark on a project like this. So that collaboration with the IT function was really essential in mapping out realistic timelines. Governance, so we had a steering group that we set up in particular to sense check some of our key decisions that we were going to be making. So for example, the length of our self-paced learning that we were going to push out to individuals. You might want to consider working groups or reference groups as part of your project, depending upon the size of it. The budget is always going to be important to the board. And here we just tried to be a little bit more creative. So we modelled some cost savings of those 5 pilot courses. We looked at the lawyers that were currently supporting the classroom elements, and we took their average billing rate, and probably, as you know, lawyers are quite expensive, and we modelled the opportunity cost saving back to the business in addition to the hard cost savings, and that figure came up to an annualised cost saving of 6 figures. So we took that into the board as well. Risks, I think it's important early on in the business case to identify risks. For us, in particular, we needed to be careful about how learning technologies would play through our learning management system and across our global network. So that was one of the key risks for us that we identified. And then scope, which I think is often forgotten. So if there are things in your project that are not going to be included, that are going to be out of scope. So for us, there was a lot of noise in the business around mobile learning, and that wasn't going to be part of this first phase of our blended learning delivery. And so we were quite clear in the business case about that. So that was the business case. For me, the real magic and the real success of this project was the change and communications plan, which I'd like to go on to talk about next. And I think it's often overlooked, it's not given the attention it deserves. And so I'd just like to talk briefly through what we did and what we continue to do around our change in comms. So you've already seen the video that went out to the firm globally. We also spent quite a lot of time writing our key messages, and we recycled those across a variety of communications. We looked at our stakeholders, in particular identifying those groups that were going to be challengers and how we were going to mitigate those groups. For our key stakeholders, so our knowledge and learning partners, we developed support packs to explain to them why we were doing blended learning, pushing them to the firm-wide video again, but particularly asking them to support us in allowing their lawyers to come onto these programs, and in particular, giving them time to do the self-paced learning. We also identified a group which maybe you wouldn't really think of, which was the secretarial group. Now, in a firm of lawyers, their life is controlled by the secretaries. And so again, we did a support pack dedicated to them. We showed them the strategy, we told them what we wanted to deliver, and we asked them to support their lawyers in finding time in their diary to do this learning, making sure they had the right equipment. So that group really was a catalyst for change for us. In terms of terminology, we'd been using pre-work for most of our programs. We wanted to change that, so we moved to self-paced learning to try and take that kind of optional, piece out of whether you do or you don't do this piece of learning. We used our LMS to generate email reminders about the programs, pushing those out to the lawyers. We did a change impact assessment, so we looked at those people in the business, our subject matter experts that were developing learning content, and we looked at how we would need to work with them to change them. And also we went on to the pilot courses, we spent time with the learners, and we got some fantastic quotes that we then recycled back to our key stakeholders. We also developed some kind of wiki pages so we could keep the conversation going on about the blended learning strategy, and also give support tools to, again, those subject matter experts in the business that were working with us on the blended learning content. So that was the change in comms plan. Welcome to success. So it was an overriding success. We ran the 5 pilot programs several times last year. We managed to achieve an average completion rate of 98%, which previously in the firm was pretty unheard of. 3 things I just particularly want to reference. So the learners told us that the automated emails made them feel as though the program was really important. The firm-wide video, I think, helped to deliver that vision for us. And again, the catalyst for change group for us, it sounds very simple, was the secretarial group. So we continue to run a change and comms plan alongside all of our blended programs. We continue to use the secretaries. And blended learning is now commonplace language in our firm. So what I'd like to say to you is that if you have an idea, if you have a vision, if you're really, really passionate about something, however challenging your landscape is, and I can tell you that a legal landscape is very challenging, you really can make that change. Thank you for listening.